Good morning, children. So, here we are starting with another chapter of your syllabus, and this will be the last chapter we'll be covering up, that is bills of exchange. Now, let us understand what is the meaning of bills of exchange. According to Indian Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, as you can read here, a bill of exchange is an instrument in writing an unconditional order, that means without any condition. It is something, some document, some instrument in written form without any condition, signed by the maker. That means maker is the person who is making the bill, who has made this instrument, directing to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. That means a bill of exchange is a document, is an instrument in writing without any condition as such, and it is signed by the maker. That means whosoever is making the bill against somebody, he is making the bill, he is directing somebody to pay the certain sum of money either to himself, that is to the maker, or to somebody whom the maker tells to pay. For example, suppose if Mr. X is the maker of the bill and Mr. X makes a bill against Mr. Y for rupees 20,000. So he will be addressing Mr. Y, or he will be directing Mr. Y to pay sum of 20,000 rupees either to himself, that is Mr. X, or to somebody else, maybe Mr. Z, Mr. A, Mr. B, as per the direction of Mr. X, or to the bearer of the instrument. That means whosoever is holding the bills of exchange at the time of payment, Mr. Y will have to make the payment to that particular person. Now, what are the advantages of bills of exchange? So, the advantages of bills of exchange, or we can say the merits of bills of exchange, is first of all, it is helpful in the purchase and sale of goods on credit. Obviously, whenever the goods are purchased or sold on credit, that means credit means what? The immediate payment is not made, rather, the payment will be made at some future date. So, somewhere down the line, somewhere the problem, the doubt whether the payment will be made or not arises. So, just to be on the safer side, a bill of exchange can be drawn by the seller to the or against a buyer, and it will be acting as a guarantee because it is a written document signed by the acceptor of the bill that he will be paying a certain sum of money on certain cert, and therefore it will be helpful. Number two, it is a legal document, but because it is a written document, it is basically, it is identified in the eyes of law, and that's why it is a legal document. And third one, relief from sending reminders. If suppose if the bill is not drawn on anyone, then again and again we have to keep on reminding somebody who has taken something on credit from us. We have to keep on reminding that person, since see, you have taken so much credit, you have taken goods on credit, you have to make the payment on so and so date. We have to just keep on reminding him so that he doesn't forget. But once we make a bill of exchange, when once we get it signed by the acceptor, now it is the duty of the acceptor to pay the bill amount on the due date, otherwise he will be penalized. So, we or the makers of the bill are relieved from sending the reminders to the acceptor of the bill. And number four, very important point, that is discounting facility. Discounting facility, or we can say you must have come across the word discounting of bills of exchange while studying the chapter banking or somewhere, either in your class 10th or 11th or anywhere. Now, what is discounting bills of exchange? Discounting bill of exchange is a form of loan facility given by the commercial banks to its customers or general public. And in this, what happens that any public who is having a bill of exchange which is maturing after a certain period of time, and if at all he is in immediate requirement of that much amount of money, obviously he cannot legally ask the acceptor to pay the certain money before the maturity date. So what he can do is, the other option is that he can take that bill, he can give it to the commercial bank, and he can say that commercial bank, you keep the bill with yourself, you deduct some amount of discounting charge, some amount of service charge against it, and rest of the money you give in cash. And when the maturity period comes, the bank will collect the amount of bill from the acceptor and not the maker. Now, what is the advantage of this discounting of bill of exchange to the maker? Maker is advantageous of getting the immediate payment. He need not wait till the maturity period. And till where the bank is concerned, bank is advantageous in this position. Why? Because he is the the bank is advantageous in this situation because bank is getting the bill amount, though at the time of maturity a little later, but it will be getting the bill amount. In addition, besides, it is also getting some amount of discounting charge from the maker. So these are the advantages of bills of exchange. Moving ahead, the parties to a bill of exchange. There are three parties mainly to a bill of exchange. One is the drawer, or we can say the maker of the bill. Drawer is the person who makes the bill, and generally in times of sale, drawer is considered to be the seller, the one person towards whom the money is owed by someone. So drawer is the seller or creditor entitled to receive money from someone. He writes or draws the bill and is also known as drawer. The bill of exchange is signed by the drawer of the bill. Number 2, the second party is either we can say drawee or we can say acceptor. Drawee or acceptor is the person towards whom the bill is drawn by the drawer or the maker. So basically, drawer or acceptor is the person towards whom the bill is drawn, or against whom who is basically instructed to clear the bill amount at the maturity period. And it is very much important that he should give his acceptance by signing the bill, otherwise the bill of exchange will not come into existence. So as you can see, drawee or acceptor is the purchaser or the debtor on whom the bill is drawn and who is liable to pay the amount mentioned in the bill. He accepts to pay the amount by writing the word accepted on the bill and then signs it. A bill is called a draft before it is accepted. As we have already discussed, that unless and until it is signed by the acceptor, it will not be called as a bills of exchange. It will just be a drafted document. And the third party is payee. Payee is basically the person who receives the payment against bill of exchange. The payee either can be a drawer, the maker of the bill himself, or anybody whom the drawer has instructed to make the payment, or the bearer of the bill of exchange. So as you can read here, the person to whom the payment is to be made is called payee. The drawer will be the payee of the bill if he retains the bill till the date of maturity and receives the payment. So payee is generally the person who receives the payment ultimately on the maturity date. If the drawer is not giving the bill to anyone, neither to bank nor to any third party, and at the maturity period if the drawer himself is receiving the money, then drawer will be considered as payee. Otherwise, if he has given the bill for discounting to bank, then bank will be considered as the payee. If he has given the bill to somebody else, to some third party as the payment from his side, then that third party or the bearer will be considered as the payee. So these three parties are the main parties involved in bill of exchange, that is drawer, drawee and payee. Moving ahead, meaning of promissory note. There is another document, promissory note, which basically sounds or looks like a bills of exchange, but it is a little bit different than bill of exchange. Now what is the difference? We'll understand. According to Indian Negotiable Instrument Act, a promissory note is an instrument or instrument in writing, just like bills of exchange, not being a bank note or a currency note, containing an unconditional undertaking. So it is also a written document. It is also an unconditional undertaking, but it is a promise to pay by the maker to the acceptor, by the maker to the acceptor, or we can say the payee. Now, the parties to a promissory note. As we have discussed, bills of exchange has three parties: drawer, drawee and payee. Whereas, promissory note has two parties. This is another difference. The two parties in case of promissory note are maker and payee. Who is a maker? Maker is the person who writes a promissory note and signs it. Basically, we can say maker is the person who promises to pay a certain sum of money to somebody on some specified date. Whereas, payee is the person who is entitled to get the payment. That means payee, the meaning of payee is same in both the cases. As you can see, there is no acceptor in case of a promissory note. Why? Because it is a promise himself made by the maker. Because the maker himself is liable to pay the amount. Now, what are the differences between a bill of exchange and a promissory note? Number 1, parties. In bill of exchange, there may be three parties. Which are the three parties? Drawer, acceptor, or we can say drawee, and the payee. Whereas, in case of promissory note, there are only two parties to it. That is the maker who makes the bill note, and payee to whom the amount is payable. Another difference is on the basis of drawer. In case of bill of exchange, the bill is drawn by the creditor, generally who towards whom the payment is owed by somebody else. But in case of promissory note, the it is drawn by the debtor, that means who is actually liable to make the payment. Then order and promise. Bills of exchange is an order to make the payment, because it is drawn by the drawer towards the drawer, instructing him to pay a certain sum of money, whereas promissory note is a promise to make payment by the maker to the pay. And the last difference, acceptance. Bills of exchange needs an acceptance by the drawer. Why? Because it is an order, and how can an order be executed unless and until it is accepted? Whereas promissory note does not need any acceptance, because it is just a promise. So these are the four differences between bills of exchange and a promissory note. You may learn any two, three differences. Then very important point, days of maturity and days of grace. Now in bill of exchange and promissory note, in both the cases, the date of maturity is mentioned in the bill of exchange or promissory note respectively, that when the bill or the promissory note will become due, that means when the payment is to be made. But in case of bill of exchange, besides the date of maturity, plus 3 days of grace are given, that means 3 more days are given. But in case of promissory note, no such days of grace are given. This is another very important difference between bill of exchange and promissory note. What is the difference? In bill of exchange, 3 additional days of grace along with the maturity period is given to the acceptor, whereas in case of promissory note, no such days of grace are given. So the date on which the payment of the bill becomes due is called the due date or the date of maturity. The date on which the duration of the bill comes to an end is called the due date. And to this we will add 3 days of grace. While calculating the due date of the bill, it is compulsory to add 3 days of to the period of the bill. These 3 days are called as days of grace. For example, if a bill is drawn on 1st July 2016 and is payable after 2 months after due date, so from 1st July 2016, 2 months will be 1st August and 1st September. That means 1st September 2016 will be the due date. But its maturity date will be plus 3 days of grace, that is 1st September plus 3 days, that means 4th September 2016. So this is how we will calculate maturity date in case of bill of exchange. But if it was promissory note, then we will not add any days of grace, and straight away the maturity date in that case would have been 1st September 2016. Moving ahead, the following points are very significant for calculating the date of maturity. If a bill falls due in those months in which there is no corresponding date, that is 29th, like February, 30th or 31st dates, its maturity date will be the last date of such month. For example, if a bill was drawn on 30th January 2017 for 1 month, it will become due on 28th February plus 3 days of grace, that is 3rd March 2017, because there is no 30th date in February. Very simple point. That means whenever the maturity date is to be calculated, the duration is to be calculated in months. And even if then the following the due month or next month or the duration different months, even if they are without the days like 30th, 31st or 29th, still even if it is a February, for example, for 28 days, then too we will count it as entire month, because we have to calculate the maturity period, the duration, as per on monthly basis. So if the bill was drawn on 30th January 2017 for 1 month, from 30th January 2017, 1 month should have been 30th February 2017. But we know that February doesn't have any 30th date. It just has either 28th or 29th. So instead of dragging it 2 more days in of that of March, what we will do, we will consider the entire 20 days of February as 1 month. So we will assume that the bill is maturing on 28th February plus 3 days of grace, that is 1st March, 2nd March and 3rd March, if it is not a leap year. And then our maturity date will be 3rd March 2017 in that case. Second point, bills drawn on 30th May or 31st May for 1 month will become due on 3rd July. Similarly, as we know, if the bill is drawn on 30th May or 31st May, let's say if 31st May, from 31st May the 1 month will be 31st June. We know that there are only 30 days in the month of June, so we will consider the entire 30 days of June itself as 1 month, plus 3 days of grace, that is 3rd July will be considered as the maturity date. Moving ahead, note, in case the due date, these 2 points are very very important children. In case the due date of a bill falls on a holiday, suppose whatever the maturity date is coming after adding days of grace, suppose if it falls a holiday, holiday can be of two types. It can either be an emergency holiday, that means declared all of a sudden, or it can be a gazetted holiday, that means which was known beforehand. So if the due date after adding the days of grace, if the maturity date or the due date is coming or is falling on an emergency holiday which was declared all of a sudden, then your due date will be passed on, or it will just move ahead one more day. For example, if your maturity date after adding 3 days of grace falls on 24th of January, and suppose if there is an emergency holiday declared on 24th January, then your due date will become as 25th January. On the other hand, if the due date along with the days of grace is falling on a gazetted holiday which was pre-known, which was known beforehand, then in that case the preceding day will be considered as the due date. For example, after adding the days of grace to the maturity period, if your maturity date falls on 26th January, we know that 26th January is a gazetted holiday beforehand, so in that case your maturity date will be coming one day earlier, that is 25th January. So as you can read here, in case the due date of a bill falls on a holiday, the following points should be kept in mind. Number 1, if the due date including the days of grace falls on Sunday or a public or a gazetted holiday. Sunday also we know beforehand that it is a holiday itself. The due date will be supposed to be one day earlier. For example, if a bill falls due on 26th January, its due date will be 25th January. Number 2, if the due date including the days of grace has been declared as an emergency holiday, the due date will be supposed to be one day later. For example, if a bill falls due on 5th July and it is declared as an emergency holiday due to the death of a national leader or any other reason, the due date will be 6th July. So I hope it is clear to you children. Moving ahead, two words may be given at times. One is bill at sight and another one is bill after date. In case of bill at sight, in a bill of exchange, the expressions at sight, on sight and on presentation means payable on demand. Whenever the bill will be presented, it has to be honored, it has to be paid. If no time for payment is mentioned in the bill, it is payable on demand. Bills payable on demand become due as soon as the bill is presented for payment. Such bills are not entitled to days of grace. Bill after date. When a bill is payable at a fixed period after date, the period begins to run from the date of drawing the bill. 3 days of grace are allowed on such bills. For instance, a bill of exchange dated 1st January 2015 is payable 2 months after date and it is accepted on 15 January 2015. So we will count it. The due date of the bill will be 4th March 2015. 2 months from 1st January will be counted. That means from the date mentioned in the bill, if the after date word is given. So from 1st January, 2 months will be 1st February plus 1st March plus 3 days of grace, that is 4th March. And if it was bill at sight, then whenever the bill is presented, the acceptor needs to make the payment. Again, the expression after sight in a bill of exchange means after accepting. Thus, where a bill is payable at a fixed period after sight, the period begins to run from the date of acceptance. 3 days of grace are allowed also on such bills. So, the bill where date was not mentioned, that was bill at sight. It has to be paid whenever presented. But if it is bill after sight, then in that case, the number of months or the period is to be counted from the date of acceptance and not from the date of drawn. If the bill after date is given, then that has to be counted from the date of drawn. So as you can see, thus where a bill is payable at a fixed period after sight, the period begins to run from the date of acceptance. 3 days of grace are also allowed on such bills. For example, a bill of exchange dated 1st January is payable 2 months after sight and it is accepted on 15 January. Then we will count 2 months if it is after sight. Then we will count 2 months from 15th January and not from 1st January. So from 15th January, 2 months will be 15th Feb, 15th March plus 3 days of grace. The due date in this case will be 18th March 2015. Moving ahead, children, accounting treatment. For the purpose of accounting, bills are divided into two categories. Number one, bills receivable, or in short we can say BR, and bills payable, in short we can say BP. These two terms you have already learned while learning the basic terminology. And if you know what is bills receivable, it is considered to be an asset. Bills receivable means a bill against which the payment is to be received, and therefore it is an asset. Whereas bills payable means a bill against which the payment is to be made, and therefore it is a liability. The person who is entitled to receive money draws the bill and gets it accepted from the person who is liable to pay. As such, the same bill is a bills receivable from the point of view of the drawer and a bill payable from the point of view of the acceptor. In other words, the same bill is an asset, that is bills receivable, for drawer, that is the maker of the bill, and a liability, that is bills payable, for the acceptor. Now different uses of bills receivable means what all can be done with bills receivable. What are the cases? A party which holds a bills receivable, that means which is having a bills receivable, that is basically the drawer or the maker, can use it in either of the following ways. That means there are 4 ways in which the drawer or the maker of bills receivable can use the bills receivable. Number 1, he may keep it till the date of maturity. That means he can keep it till the date of maturity, and when the maturity time comes, he can take the payment from the acceptor. In that case, he will be considered as the payee also. Number 2, he may discount it with the banker before the date of maturity. That we have already discussed, discounting of bill of exchange. In that case, he will get the money before the maturity period and the bill will be given to the bank, and on the maturity period the bank will be getting the payment from the acceptor of the bill, and bank will be considered to be the pay. Number 3, he may endorse it to some other party before the date of maturity. In this case, suppose if the drawer also have to make payment to some other party, then instead of making payment in cash or check, rather than making payment, he can give the same bill, and on the maturity period, that endorsee to whom the bill is endorsed by the maker or the drawer can take the payment from the acceptor, and in that case the endorsee will be considered as the payee, and the drawer will also become the endorser because he is negotiating, he is endorsing the bill. And number 4, he may send it to his banker for collection. In this case, he is not getting the bill discounted, rather he is making use of agency function of the bank, where the bank is acting as an agent for him, and the drawer can send the bill to the bank to recover the payment. In that case, obviously being the bearer of the instrument, the bank will be the payee, but ultimately the payment will be deposited in the account of the drawer himself. So these are the different uses of bills receivable, and we will be discussing one by one all the 4 cases, and also we will be discussing that in all these 4 cases what will happen if the acceptor fails to make the payment on the due date. So let us begin with the first case, that is when the bill is retained by the drawer in his own possession till the date of maturity. Now remember children, whenever you are doing questions on bills of exchange, you have to be very particular with the entries, because you need to know the entries, how the entries or what will be the entries which will be passed in the books of all the parties which are involved, whether it is drawer, drawee, endorsee, bank, etc. So as you can read here, in such a case, the drawer will himself receive the payment of the bill on the date of maturity. The following entries are passed in the books of both the parties, that is the drawer and the acceptor. So here we have assumed that X is the drawer and Y is the drawee. So as you can see, there are 3 columns. The first column is for transaction, the second column is for journal entry in the books of X, and third column is for the journal entry in the books of Y, who is also our drawee or acceptor. So the first transaction is when X sold goods to Y. What will be the entry? X is selling goods to Y. That means for X it is sales, for Y it is purchases. So in the books of X, the normal entry for sales will be there, and we know that since cash is not mentioned, obviously it is on credit. So Y debited to sales account for being goods sold on credit. In the books of Y, you have to assume yourself as Y. So for Y, it is considered to be purchases, credit purchases. So the entry will be purchase account debited to cash account. No. Why? Because it is not in cash. So the entry will be purchase account debited to X. The second entry, when X received a bill duly accepted by by Y. That means X has made the bill and Y has also accepted it, and then only bill of exchange has come into existence. So in that case, now this bill has become bills receivable for X. That means it is an asset, and we know asset carries a debit balance. So bills receivable account will be debited to Y, because now he has nothing to do with Y. Y's account needs to be closed. So when we opened Y's account, it was debited. Now we are closing it, so therefore we will credit it. Now the same bill is bills payable for the acceptor, and therefore the acceptor of Y needs to close the account of X. So X will be debited, because earlier when his account was opened, he was credited. To bills payable account. Why we have credited bills payable account? Because it is a liability, and liability we know that carries a credit balance. Therefore we have credited to bills payable account. Now, which case is this? The bill is retained by the drawer till the date of maturity. So the third entry will be passed for the payment on maturity date. Dates in case of bills of exchange is very, very important, children. Now, as you can read here, the third transaction is when the bill is retained till maturity by X and Y pays the amount of maturity. The entry in the books of X will be normal receiving entry, bank account debited, because money is coming in, bank balance is increasing, to bills receivable account, because now since the payment is being received, bills receivable account needs to be closed. And in case of Y, the entry will be bills payable account, again similarly, because he is making the payment, so now bills payable account needs to be closed. So bills payable account will be debited to bank account, because now money is going out for Y. So these are the entries which needs to be passed in case number 1, when the bill is retained by the drawer in his own possession till the date of maturity. Case 2, when the bill is discounted from the bank. The process we have already learned. What is the meaning of discounting of bill of exchange? Why is it done? How is it done? Now let us see. If the holder of a bills receivable, that is BR, needs money before the date of maturity, he can discount the bill from the bank is in order to obtain cash for it. Discounting means encashing the bill before the date of its maturity, or borrowing from the bank on the security of the bill. Bank deducts a certain amount of discount from the face value of the bill and pays the balance to the person discounting the bill. The discount deducted by the bank is actually the amount of interest charged by the bank for lending the money. The amount of discount depends upon the rate of interest and the remaining period of the bill. Now, following entries are passed to record these transactions. Now, remember children, the entry which we have discussed in case number 1 for purchase and sale, for acceptance and drawing of bill, that will be the same in all the cases. Now these are the additional entries, because now the bill is not retained by the drawer, but it will be discounted. So here we are starting with the discounting entries. As you can see, X again is the drawer and Y is again considered to be the drawee. Transaction, when X discounts the bill from the bank, the entry will be bank account debited. Bank account will be debited with the amount of the bill which actually bank is giving to the drawer. Discounting charges account debited. This will be debited with the amount which the bank has deducted of the bill in the name of discounting charge. It is debited because it is you can say it is an expense for the business, and bank account is debited because money is coming in the bank account of the drawer. To bills receivable account, because now the bills receivable account needs to be closed because it is no more with the drawer, it is already passed on to the maker, by the maker to the bank. Then in the books of Y, no entry will be passed for the discounting of bill, as he is not affecting by discounting of bill, because once the acceptor accepts the bill, now he will look to the bill only on the date of maturity. Within that period, whatever is done with the bill, whether endorsement is done, retention is done, discounting is done, it is nothing related to draw. He is just not concerned about it. He will just see whether the person coming to take the payment on the date of maturity is having the bill signed by him or not, whosoever the person may be. So therefore there will be no entry in case of discounting of bill of exchange. Then the second one, when Y pays the amount of the bill on the due date. Now when the maturity period has come and the payment is to be made, there will be no entry in the books of X now. Why? Because the bill is no more with X, it is with the bank. So therefore no entry for payment will be made in the books of X. No entry. Bank will receive the payment on the due date, and as such no entry will be passed in the books of X because he has already received cash while discounting the bill. And in the books of Y, the same entry will be there for payment. Bills payable account debited to bank account. We have discussed the logic beforehand, that bills payable account will be debited because now it is being paid, so its account needs to be closed. And why we are crediting bank account? Because money is going out. Note: when a bill is discounted, it is more appropriate to debit bank account instead of cash, because the banker does not make the payment in cash. Rather, the amount is credited in the party's account, and as such the amount is deemed to be deposited with the banker. Why we are, when the bank is giving the money after discounting, why we are debiting bank account and not cash? Because we know that, we assume basically that bank will be depositing the amount in the bank account of the customer. So these were the few concepts which we have discussed, and two cases which we have discussed about bill of exchange. Kindly go through the video once again, children, revise it, and in the upcoming video we will be discussing the further cases and their parts. Thank you, children. Take care.